Hello, my name is Dr. Nicholas Dogres, and I am the inventor of NeuroField. NeuroField is a pulsed electromagnetic field device that is capable of generating EMF from 1 to 200 milligauss. It can generate frequencies from 0.31 cycles per second to 300,000 cycles per second. In comparison to repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation, or rTMS, NeuroField is roughly 10 million times weaker than the rTMS treatments that have been approved by the FDA in 2008 as a safe and effective treatment for depression. When a person receives rTMS stimulation, they are exposed to roughly 1 to 2 Tesla of EMF, which is equivalent to that of an MRI. The high level of EMF elicits a motor response and depolarizes cells in the brain. In the NeuroField community, we feel that the brain can respond to very low levels of EMF and still have a positive effect on the person clinically without having to expose them to high levels that are typically given in rTMS treatment. To demonstrate that, we ran the following experiment. On 2 independent computers, on one of them we recorded a 19-channel surface EEG using a BrainMaster Discovery, and on the other computer we installed the NeuroField X2000 software and gave NeuroField pulsed EMF stimulation. Before you now is the Brain Avatar software that has been developed by BrainMaster Technologies Incorporated. The Avatar software is a 3D modeling software that can model the brain in real time and breaks down the brain into roughly 6,000 voxels. So what we did is we recorded the 19-channel EEG, and at 1 minute, 1 minute 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 2 minutes 30 seconds, 3 minutes, and so on, we delivered NeuroField stimulations. And now we're going to run back that EEG and show you what it looks like when NeuroField stimulates the brain. So I've loaded it all up, and I'm going to start it here. And what happens here, if you look at the timer here at the top of the screen, you'll see when it reaches 1 minute, the first stimulation will be given. Now, Brain Avatar will show us the brain's responses to the stimulation. It also shows us the frequency spectrums here from 0 to 60 cycles per second. And the theory is that if low-intensity EMF can stimulate the brain, we should be able to observe it in Brain Avatar. And here goes the first stimulation, and you can see we had the coils on the frontal lobes, and the stimulation is very short. But what you see there was a cascade effect, where the brain indeed did fire. At 1 minute 30 seconds, you'll see another one. And there it goes. Again, it causes a cascade response in the brain in which the brain fires. And then in the frequency spectrums here, you will see the frequency spectrum begin to flatten out. Again, at 2 minutes, another stimulation. And Brain Avatar shows us that indeed the brain can respond to very low levels of EMF, which are much safer for the person. Now, typically, there's another stimulation now. When a person receives low intensity EMF through NeuroField, the frequency spectrum will flatten out, which is typically associated with better functioning and a lessening in symptoms. There was another stimulation at 3 minutes, and you can see the disruptive effect that NeuroField does have on the system. And typically what we see is that the brain will recalibrate itself. It'll reorganize itself in the correct direction. And what I mean by that, in a normative direction. And the reason we know that is NeuroField uses norm reference data through the Applied Neuroscience database. They have a z-score normative reference database that allows us to see how the EMF stimulation is affecting the brain. And typically z-scores move towards the normal range after NeuroField treatments. So here you see, again, the brain is fired, and there's a massive response, and then it flattens out again. And there at 5 minutes, another stimulation will be given. And we're really starting to see some big responses here in the brain. And again, a flattening of the power spectrum. And there's another stimulation. And you can see these massive peaks at 10 cycles per second. So indeed, NeuroField does appear to elicit a neurological response using low-intensity EMF. Low-intensity EMF is much safer than high-intensity EMF because it does not generate the amount of heat that high-intensity EMF does in RTMS treatment. Therefore, you can leave the device on longer and use much faster frequencies. And there's a very massive response. You can see the whole system pretty much peaks there. And what the brain does is it automatically recalibrates itself. It automatically tunes itself in a normative direction after stimulation is over. So if you have other questions or interest in NeuroField, please visit www.neurofield.com. Thank you very much.